All right, let's look at our agenda for this week. I changed the warm-up, so we just did a quick check today. So you can cross out day 1 and just change it to quick check. Most of you did a great job on subtracting integers. If it looked like you had some trouble on it, we'll get with you and get you some help so that you can. The quick check was the second thing. I didn't think we had time for both of it. We just crossed that out. So we did the subtracting integers quick check quiz. And then we're going to take some notes on multiplying and dividing integers, and then we're going to work on a skills practice for that. Tomorrow, you'll get a new warm-up when you're here. And then you'll do a skills practice on dividing integers tomorrow. So this week is all about multiplying and dividing integers. Wednesday, there will be a multiplying and dividing integers in your Google Classroom. That's due by Wednesday night. Turn over. Thursday, there will be some task cards on multiplying and dividing integers. That's also in your Google Classroom. And Friday, you will have a paper copy of a study guide, and we'll take our unit test next week on adding, subtracting, multiplying and dividing integers, absolute value, anything that we've talked about so far this year. But you'll get a study guide, and you'll do that at home on Friday. Then when you come in next Monday, we'll go over that study guide, and you'll take your test next Tuesday. Then you'll have 3 days of at-home review assignments, and then we're fall break. Okay? All right, questions? Okay, put this to the side. And let's look at our notes for multiplying and dividing integers. All right, multiply and divide. Let me find a marker. Everybody got this paper? Okay, you can come over here and... Oh, I think Coach has them now. Did you get the skills practice? All right, so when we multiply and divide integers, you multiply and divide as usual. Just looking at the numbers. Multiply and divide as usual. If the signs are the same, the answer is positive. If the signs are different, the answer is, what do you think? Negative. Easy enough? So these rules are pretty easy. And so for the most part, 7th grade students have an easier time multiplying and dividing than adding and subtracting. The rules for adding and subtracting are a little more complicated because we're looking at absolute value to determine the sign. And so once people start multiplying and dividing, they start trying to apply this rule to adding and subtracting. So you're going to have to be careful. This is going to be easier for you probably. And then when we go back and we practice some adding and subtracting, you may confuse the rules. So you have to really concentrate on what you're doing. Since this is no calculators, I know some of us have some trouble remembering our multiplication facts. We will, when you get started working, we'll give you a multiplication chart and we'll put it in your notebook. If you feel like you need one of those, we'll be more than happy to give you one. So let's look at the first one. Negative 3 times 12. Well, multiply as usual. What's 3 times 12? 36. The signs are different, so the answer is negative. Negative 36. 4 times 8 is 32. The signs are different, so the answer is negative 32. 2 times 5 is 10. They're both negative, so the answer is positive. 6 times 13. So 13 times 6. Wow, you're fast. I'm still working over here. All right, so 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7, 78. The signs are different, so the answer is negative. All right, so sometimes you will need to, do we need work for tomorrow too? Do we know? You don't think so? Okay. So sometimes you may have to do the standard multiplication algorithm, and that's okay. Show your work. That just means that you need to line it up and multiply like that. Everybody okay with that? Okay, let's go over to the division. 42 divided by 7 is 6. The signs are different, so the answer is negative. 36 divided by 3 is 12. The signs are the same, so your answer is positive, yes. All right, what's happening here when it looks like a fraction? It is still division. 64 divided by 8 is 8. The signs are the same, so the answer is positive. And 12 divided by 4. 3, the signs are different, so the answer is negative. Anybody have any questions about that top part? All right, let's look down here at the bottom. Solve. Negative 2 times negative 2. 2 times 2 is 4. The signs are the same, so it is positive. All right, so now we're getting into some multiples. So first let's solve. Let's do the math for the multiplying, and then we'll worry about the sign. 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. Now, we have to start here. Negative times negative is a positive. Now that positive times that negative is negative. Let's look at that one more time. So start with 2 first. Negative times negative is a positive. Positive times negative is negative. Everybody okay with that? All right, let's do the next one. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. Now let's deal with the negatives and the positives. Negative times negative is a positive. Times a negative is a negative. And then a negative times a negative is a positive. Oh, that was super fun. It's the most fun I've done all week. The week just started. It's all right. Okay, here we go. Now, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. Now let's deal with the negatives. Negative times a negative is a positive. Times a negative is a negative times a negative is a, and a positive times a negative is a negative. All right, I want you to look at there and see if you see a pattern with the positives and the negatives. Oh, what do you think, Chandler? Yeah, so an even number, right? An So exactly right. So if there's an even number, I have 2, it's positive. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, it is positive. I have 3, it's negative. I have 5, it is negative. So the pattern that we see is so that says when there is an even number of negatives, the product is positive. And then we're going to go on to say when there is an odd number of negatives, the product is negative. Anybody still writing? All right, so let's do this evaluate section. Evaluate, which also means what? Solve. If A equals 2, B equals -3, and C equals 8. So the first thing we need to do is rewrite showing substitution. So what's happening here between the -7 and the A? When a variable is right next to a number, what does that mean? It means to multiply. So some people in the past that I have seen have taken that A equals 2 and they've made that a -72. That's not what that means. This is telling you that there are 7 A's. So 7 A's, if A is 2, that means there's 7 2's. That's multiplying. 7 times 2. So it's -7 times 2 times 4 times B. We're going to use this little dot sign because this is inside the parentheses. And B is -3. Solve the parentheses first. So inside the parentheses, there's nothing to do there. So we're going to solve inside this parentheses first. And we're going to say that's -7 times 2. And then we're going to multiply that by 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Negative 7 times 2 times negative 12. And 7 times 2 is 14. So negative 14 times negative 12. Do you know 14 times 12? 168. All right. Equals 168, and a negative times a negative is a positive. Anybody want me to show that 14 times 12? Everybody knows how to do that? Okay. All right. B cubed. Let's rewrite that as negative 3 to the third power. Right? Negative 3 to the third power. What does that mean? That means negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. Negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. So 3 times 3, or negative 3 times negative 3 is a positive 9. Positive 9 times negative 3. Well, 9 times 3 is 27, and a positive times a negative is a negative. Three times A times C divided by B. So 3, let's separate that section. 3 times 2 times 8 divided by B is negative 3. That's the way you would write that. You would write it like a fraction. If you wrote it like this, you would still do the multiplying before the dividing because you work left to right. Okay. 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 times 2 is, 6 times 8 is 48, and it's all positive. And 48 divided by negative 3 is a negative 16. Negative 16. All right, last one. A times B times C. So 2 times negative 3 times 8 divided by 2 times 2. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Negative 6 times 8 is negative 48. Divided by 2 times 2 is 4. And now we do the division. 48 divided by 4 is 12. Is it positive 12 or negative 12? Negative 12. So whenever you have problems that look like this, you solve the top, you solve the bottom, and then you do the dividing. Questions? Okay. All right. We will, while you're working on your skills practice, we're going to come around and punch holes in this. I want to look at the skills practice. There's a few problems I want to do together. All right, let's see. Let's look at number 6. Look at 6 and 7. Are they the same problem? They look the same, almost. What's different? Okay, so here it's negative, and then it's 5 squared. And here it's negative 5 squared. So where the parentheses is and where the negative is matters. So here we're just squaring the 5. The negative's not included. So 5 times 5 is 25. 25. And then you just move the negative over. It was not involved in the squaring process. Here, what are we squaring? We're squaring negative 5. So that means negative 5 times negative 5, and what do we get? Positive 25. Questions about that? All right, let's look. And let's do number 17. Let's work left to right. Negative 5 times negative 3 is 15. And then 15 times 4 is 60. And let's do number 24. Negative 2 times negative 3 squared. What do we do first? Do we do the multiplying first or the squaring first? So think back to order of operations, parentheses, exponents, then multiply and divide, right? So we're going to do exponents first. Let's cover up that 2. Let's think about, are we squaring 3 or are we squaring negative 3? Negative 3. So negative 3 times negative 3 is it negative 9? Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. So then it's negative 2 times positive 9. And what do we get? Negative 18. Oh, that was super fun. Questions about the front? Let's look at the back. So these are all multiplying integers problems. Let's just do trying to look to see if one's more difficult than another. Let's do number 2. A deep sea diver descends below the surface of the water at a rate of 60 feet each minute. What is the depth of the diver after 10 minutes? So, if we are diving at 60 feet per minute, is that a positive 60 or a negative 60? It's a negative 60. And so 1 minute's negative 60, another minute's negative 60, another minute is negative 60. So we do that for 10 minutes, so we have to multiply by 10, right? And time is a positive unless we're going backwards. So is it going to be positive or negative? It's going to be negative. And then let's just do mental math. 6 times 1 is 6. And how many zeros do we move over? 2 zeros move over. So what is the depth of the diver after 10 minutes? The depth of the diver is negative 600 feet. have any questions before we let you work on this? Okay. All right, so you are going to work on the skills practice front and back. If you need a multiplication chart, Mrs. Bent has those. And then after you get your skills practice checked, or before you leave, we're going to punch holes in them, and you're going to put these in your math notebook, just in the back, so that you have these at home. And then tomorrow, we're working only on multiplication today. Tomorrow, you're going to have a skills practice of that's nothing but division. Okay? All right. You can get to work on these. Come see us if you have a question. Maybe come let us check after question 8 on the front. Let us check after question 8.